All righty, friends. All right. Wonderful. All right, Sandra, you're the host now. You're going to take away for the rest of the meeting. But hello, everyone. Thank you so much for calling in and for signing up for our webinar tonight. We are so excited to have you here. This is Reefbites and Everblue's first co-hosted webinar. So we're really excited about getting everyone here and getting to chat a little bit about science writing for the general public. We wanted to do a couple introductions first. We've got a panel of 4 people from the Everblue and Reefbites team today, and then we also have a chat moderator from the Everblue team. So we're going to go ahead and go through, introduce ourselves, and then we will go ahead and get started with today's agenda. It's only going to be an hour webinar, so it might move a little bit fast, but we wanted to get through some really fun content and also be mindful of everyone's time at night. So with that being said, Sandra, would you like to start off?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. So my name is Sandra Schleier. I am the founder and co-editor-in-chief of Reefbites. I did my master's at the University of Rhode Island, and I studied coral reef science. And so I studied more like the restoration aspect of it and the ecology. And now I'm in Puerto Rico. I work as a boat grounding specialist. That means that I look at boat groundings and their effect on the reef, and then I do the evaluation and go out to mitigate the damage. So that's my work. And on my free time, it's all about reef bites. Well, yes, let me say why I got into science communication. So I believe science communication is very important. I started Reef Bites because I feel like we need more people that want to share their science, but not just share it in a scientific way. You know, it goes in a journal and then it's just waited for other scientists to read, or maybe a non-scientist can, you know, go in and check it out. But that's not really the case because you kind of have to pay for that. So I wanted to make science more accessible. That's how I got into science communication.
All right, awesome. Bobby, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself next?
Sure. I'm Bobby Renfro. I'm also from the Reefbites team. I'm the post coordinator. So all the lovely blog posts that you see going up on Reefbites, I'm the one that curates their posting. And I did my master's degree at Auburn University, studying all the fun behaviors of the coral reef fish, and have transitioned since then through several different jobs, including community outreach with government organizations and working with school groups. And now I'm back in my PhD and I'm studying the sponges that live on the coral reef. And I got into science communication because I think science is so fun. I was that kid that was glued to Animal Planet, and I couldn't figure out why not everyone else felt the same. And as I got older, I realized it's because a lot of science isn't portrayed in a fun way like we see on television shows, and we need to take the really critical, hard-hitting science and make it just as engaging to people that aren't doing it as their career path.
Awesome, thanks, Bobby. And I'll go next. My name is Ellie. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the founder and executive director of Everblue, which is a nonprofit that focuses on science communication and tries to encourage people to live more ocean conscious and ocean friendly lifestyles by increasing their scientific literacy. My science background is in marine biology, specifically working in marine ecology. I started studying over in Oregon in the tide pools and kelp forests off of the Oregon coasts. And then I'm currently on the southern coast of North Carolina. I did some work in my undergraduate degree on plastics in the marine world. And so I also have my toe in that field. And since ending my undergraduate degree a couple of years ago, have been working full-time on Everblue and working at a restaurant on the side. And I got into science communication because during my undergraduate degree, I realized that I was learning about all of this incredible research that was coming out every single week as I was a student, and I had access to it through my institution, but lots of scientific journals are closed behind a paywall, or you have to be enrolled in a university or working at a university in order to gain access to them. And so I really wanted to try and find a way to be able to just share that science with people who don't have that access. And so that's why I started Everblue, which we'll talk about a little bit later today as well. And Jenny, would you like to go ahead and go next?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jenny. I am the research team lead for Everblue. I'm also part of the education team. My background in marine science was a bachelor in oceanography at Humboldt State University. I was particularly fascinated with harmful algal blooms, working with the engineering side of collecting wave power, as well as sinking microplastics, particularly on the eastern seaboard off of New England. And since then, I became a math teacher, being able to not only be a math teacher, but robotics for middle schoolers, and getting everyone access into STEM, because everyone belongs in STEM, but it isn't always accessible to everyone. And a lot of people don't think that they belong, but everyone does. So that is one of the huge reasons why I am very passionate about science communication, because everyone belongs, and it's really hard to understand the technical jargon that is necessary for scientific communication for scientists from scientists. But we don't have that common knowledge among everyone, which I'll get into later. But I'm super excited to be here and looking forward to this webinar and sharing this knowledge so then it can be accessible for everyone. So happy we're here.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenny. So that is your panel for today. And then last, we're going to have Tyler, our chat moderator, introduce himself, just so he's not a floating square on the screen, but somebody that you know and can trust with your chat questions.
Yeah, I don't know if you can trust me or not, but I'll do my best. I'm Tyler McFarland. I'm from Utah, actually. I work for the Forest Service, and I studied biodiversity and conservation for my undergrad, and I was accepted to study and get my master's at Duke University this coming fall. So I'm excited to continue my education, and I'm happy to be a part of this. I know I've seen with my friends and colleagues that I've been able to talk with, I've noticed the importance of being able to talk to them, not as if they're dumb, but to share and talk with them, and explain the words that I'm using, explain the science behind it in a way that is not degrading to them, but is also honest and true to the science. And so I've seen how that can make a difference, not only in my life, but in the lives of all of the people around me, helping them to implement important conservation policies and stuff.
Absolutely. Thanks for the introduction. Also, Tyler is a lovely member of our Everblue team, so he is here on behalf of Everblue as well. He's going to be moderating the chat, so feel free to throw any questions in there. I already see some great people putting in some reasons why they signed up, so I'm really excited to read that, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all of your questions tonight. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sit back. We're going to start successes and challenges chat. So the 4 panelists today are going to talk about some of our successes and challenges that we have had in science communication. And then from there, Sandra's going to take it into a presentation, and then we're going to get a little bit of time to workshop through some science translation. So with that being said, Jenny, I believe you are going to start us off with a success challenge chat.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the challenge, because we got to learn from those challenges to bring us through stronger. I think, Tyler, you brought up the point that sometimes people can feel like they're being spoken down to, or feel like scientists have to dumb down the science in order for everyone else to understand. And that's not the case, right? Like, we just have this different knowledge base, and common knowledge for scientists is not necessarily common knowledge for everyone. That was one of my big challenges in the beginning when I started my science communication journey. I would step back, but not enough. I would step back enough where my colleagues would be able to understand a paper from a different discipline from them. So there was that realm of common knowledge, but my family in Indiana maybe wouldn't necessarily have that same common knowledge. So being able to have that ability to step back and think, does everyone actually know what we're talking about when we just happen to mention ocean acidification? Maybe not. So being able to then break down that language and those connections and analogies that isn't, well, you don't know this, so let me explain it this way. It's more of a, well, how can we look at it in a different way, because it's just a different selection of tools. And we all have our own expertise. We all have our own passions, but we do have that common knowledge base. So being able to step back enough. And if you are finding that you have that challenge, something that I found to be super successful was having a friend. Luckily at the time, it was a current partner where I could just kind of pass the document over and say, hey, you're not in science. Do you know what I'm saying here? And there are some times where he would just say, no, so I'll cook dinner and you're going to fix this before we're done with that. So it's really nice to have a buddy who is out of your expertise bubble to be able to do that read through, to make sure that you did step back enough. I think I'm passing along to Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to go ahead and share a success next, and then Bobby's going to follow with another challenge. But Jenny, exactly what you said, kind of, it always reminds me of this quote from Miss Doubtfire, that movie where he's like, you're not talking down to the children, you're talking to them. And I think that that's so important to remember in science communication. It's not that we have to dumb down any of the language, it's just that we have to say it in a different way, because science language is not normal everyday language. It's like speaking in a different language to people. And so I absolutely think it's great to have like a second eye on things. I was going to share a success in science communication today. One success that we've had with Everblue was with another one of our partners named Blue. They are a sustainable online marketplace, and we actually started running webinars like this one with them last year. So this webinar that you're at today is called Researchers and Writers. And the webinars that we started with Blue last year were called Scientists and CEOs, because Blue runs an online sustainable marketplace where any small business owner or vendor that's trying to be more sustainable can share their products and have a place for their products to be sold online. And so Blue and the Everblue team were talking at one point, and we thought, you know, what would happen if we stuck a bunch of our scientists or a bunch of our Everblue team members and then some of our scientist friends who were associated with, what if we stuck a bunch of them in a Zoom room with a bunch of your small business owners? And so we did it. And we ran a webinar that we called Scientists and CEOs. And we literally just, like this webinar today, we just had a bunch of people in a room for a conversation. And we moderated a, Jenny, was our first one 2 hours or an hour and a half? It was a long time, but we moderated this great discussion between these research scientists who've been working in the field for sometimes, 10, 20, 30 years. And then we had them chatting with people who were trying to start their own small businesses and maybe studied business or marketing or design or any type of different background. And then we had them all discuss, what it looks like to be sustainable in business. And so that to me was a great learning moment, because it made me realize that sometimes science communication is just opening up the door for conversations. And also as a scientist, sometimes it's not always like, you don't always have to create huge other documents or forms of content with your science. Sometimes you just have to open yourself up and let people know, hey, I'm here, I'm a human. And there are a lot of really great movements going on right now, like this is what a scientist looks like, and different campaigns like that to really show people, hey, scientists aren't just old people in white coats running tests in a laboratory, but scientists can look like all of us as we're sitting in a lab doing our research, going out into the field, going to conferences. And so sometimes communication is just about opening up that door and being able to have conversations with people. And that was that webinar was a huge success for Everblue, because we got feedback not only from the small business owners, but also from the scientists, that like this was one of the coolest events that they'd been a part of, because they had a chance to chat with people who are normally not in their circle. So that was a really fun science communication success story for Everblue. And now, Bobby, we're going to pass it off for another challenge.
Yes, so my challenge in a few different things that I've done with science communication has been either identifying your target audience and making sure that you're gearing things toward their interests, or potentially forgetting that your non-target audiences are out there reading your work as well. And one of my big success to a fail arcs that I've run through in science communication was that I got really excited, like I said, to make science engaging and fun and accessible to people that would never consider even, wanting to watch Discovery Channel. Like, these are the people that aren't even trying to tap into science at all, even through regular, media outlets. I wanted to find ways to reach them. So I created an Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page called The Bikini Biologist. And she went around going to beaches, going to the fun vacation places, and showing you little bits of the science in those places. It was all very upbeat, happy. I was getting actually promotion deals from bathing suit companies. I started writing for a bunch of scuba blogs. And then I found out that other scientists were reading my work and didn't like my approach. And I had not even had their more serious mindset in my mind when I was creating this outreach. And I actually had someone reach out to me from the Smithsonian to say that they thought I was making science too fun, to the extent that it was removing any way for the people that I was reaching to see the serious sides of the topics I was touching on, like that coral reefs are not only this amazing, beautiful thing that you should try to see and understand that are animals, you should also understand some of the more difficult parts of it, like coral reefs are dying and we need to be doing things to saving them. And so I had to take and kind of change this way I was targeting my target audience to also include things that would reach the goals of my non-target audience. So in that case, it was, other serious scientists, and making sure that I'm seeing how anyone from any set of eyes would be reading my work and considering it. And I think that's a lesson that can be applied to anything. If your, target audience is people in your local area and you're writing to them, how will people not from your local area perceive what you're writing, and will it translate well to them? So considering both who you're meaning your work for, but also the fact that things on the internet are read by everyone.
Thanks, Chloe, for your challenge. I really love that story. I have to say, I did not think about that. I never thought that, like scientists would be so, I don't know, kind of strict about it. So I feel like, but I know it's not about being strict. It's because they want the message to be conveyed, seriously and exactly. So I definitely understand their point, but at the same time, just like, okay, so now I have to have this in my mind. I want to make it fun, but maybe not too fun. How do you balance that? And that's something that, we all have to learn, at least as scientists, how to convey our science.
Absolutely.
With the proper seriousness, but then in a way that it can engage the public. So with that, my success story is Reefbites. I am very proud of, what I began and what my writers and my editors and my staff are now bringing to Reefbites. And this started about 5 years ago. I was in the middle of my master's, and my mentor told me that I needed to get better at writing science. And so I took a writing in the sciences class and was very excited, a little bit like, okay, well, I have to learn, I have to make this work, I have to be more of a scientist. And then the class started, and I saw my professor was, this really upbeat person, great professor, but she wasn't really teaching us how to write science. She was teaching us how to use our science for the public. And at first I got annoyed. I will be the first one to admit that. I even said, like, this is not even worth my time, because this is not what I want to do. But, I kept something, somehow I just kept in the class, and, day by day, I started to get it. And I started to get really passionate about, how I can convey my science. So we had to do this project, it's the end of the semester project where we had to find a way to convey our science. So I decided to reach out to Ocean Bites, which is a sister blog site. And so Ocean Bites is more, instead of being really specific like Reef Bites, where we cover all reef related issues, Ocean Bites about all ocean sciences. So any recent ocean research, they translate it, for the broader audiences. So then I said, well, you know what the blog is missing is that everything's in English, and we have so many Spanish speakers in the US. So what can I do to, make this better? It's like, I'm bilingual, so I could start translating some of the posts and just get them out there. So, get them out there, like the Spanish version, the English version, so that way, we get both speakers, if we have native Spanish speakers, and they can learn the science as well. So I did this for a while, passed the class, got an A, I was so excited. But also I left the class with a new passion, and that was science communication. Fast forward to 2 years, we started making the first chapter of the International Coral Reef Society student chapter. And I started that, and we were looking for something where we could do outreach. We would do outreach, but we could kind of just reach, as much people as we could. And we don't, we're all grad students, so we don't really have a lot of time. So I was like, you know what, we can start a blog. We can start a blog, so that way our grad students can practice writing science for the general public, but also our target audience can be everyone. So Reef Bites was born in 2018. It is going strong. I have good writers, great editors. Now I have a new staff, which started this last year. It's been a year already. Oh my God. I was literally going to say last December, but it's been a year now. I kind of like, the COVID year, I kind of, sometimes I like forget it happened. Really fast forward it. But now we have a great staff, and, our mission with Reef Bites is to bring all of that reef research and make it accessible for all audiences. So, and we've had our ups and downs, we've had our challenges, but, and our writers are learning every day, every time that they are coming up with a new post, they learn, our editors learn as well. So it's a huge learning process. And so, yeah, success stories that we continue to progress, and Reef Bites is going strong. Yeah. So with this, I am going to transition to, I'm going to transition to our presentation for today.